The rain was falling hard that morning, matching my heart. I stood at my husband's grave, watching them lower him into the ground. 47 years of marriage, 47 years of love, laughter, arguments, and forgiveness. All of it ending in a wooden box under the cold October rain. My name is Margaret, and that day I buried the only man I ever loved. Friends and family crowded around, holding black umbrellas, whispering condolences I couldn't hear. My son stood beside me, his arm around my shoulder, but I felt nothing. Just emptiness. Just loss. Then I felt it. A vibration in my purse. My husband's phone. I'd kept it with me. Couldn't explain why. Just couldn't let it go. I pulled it out, glanced at the screen. A text message. From an unknown number. 3 words that changed everything. Look behind you. I turned, and my blood ran cold. Because standing 50 feet away behind a large oak tree was a man I hadn't seen in 20 years. A man I'd mourned. A man I'd buried in my heart long ago. My son. Our son. Daniel. Alive. Let me take you back. 20 years ago, my son Daniel was 22 years old. Smart, handsome, full of dreams. He'd just graduated college, got a job at a big investment firm in the city. My husband Edward was so proud. We both were. Then everything fell apart. One night, the police came to our door. Daniel had been arrested. Embezzlement, they said. Stealing money from the company. Millions of dollars. We didn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. Our Daniel? The boy who returned extra change to the grocery store clerk? The kid who volunteered at the homeless shelter? No. But the evidence was there. Bank records, emails, witness statements. He was convicted and sent to prison for 15 years. Edward never recovered. He spent every dime we had fighting the case, hiring lawyers, trying to prove Daniel's innocence. Nothing worked. 5 years into Daniel's sentence, we got the call. Prison riot. Daniel was dead. We buried an empty coffin. His body was never found. They said it was burned beyond recognition. Edward died 5 years later. Broken heart, the doctors said. But I knew the truth. He died of grief. And now, here I was, burying Edward, and Daniel was standing behind a tree, watching. I didn't scream, didn't faint. I just stared. Then he was gone. Disappeared into the rain like a ghost. That night, I sat alone in our house, Edward's house now. Everything still smelled like him. His pipe tobacco, his old leather chair, the coffee he'd made that morning before his heart stopped. I kept replaying the moment. Daniel's face, older now, 42, but still him, still my boy. Why was he there? Why didn't he come to me? Why now? I pulled out Edward's phone again, scrolled through his messages. The unknown number was gone. Deleted. Like it never existed. I tried calling it. Disconnected. I went through Edward's things. His desk, his files, his private drawers. I don't know what I was looking for. Something. Anything. In the back of his closet, behind some old shoe boxes, I found a key. Small, silver, with a number etched on it. 217. A safe deposit box key. Edward never mentioned a safe deposit box. I held that key and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. The next morning, I went to the bank. My hands were shaking as I handed the key to the teller. She led me to a small room with a wall of safe deposit boxes, number 217. I opened it. Inside was a single folder, thick, heavy. I opened it. The first thing I saw was a photograph. Daniel, smiling, standing in front of a house I didn't recognize. He looked happy, healthy, free. Underneath the photo was a letter, handwritten, Edward's handwriting. Margaret, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you've found the key. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you the truth while I was alive. I was protecting you, protecting Daniel. Our son didn't steal that money. He was framed. I spent years proving it. The real criminals are still out there. Powerful people. Dangerous people. Everything you need is in this folder. Bank records, emails, witness statements, names. I couldn't go public while I was alive. They would have killed us all. But now it's your choice. I love you. I've always loved you. Trust no one. Edward. I read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down my face. Our son was alive. He was innocent, and Edward had known. The question was, who framed him, and why? I looked back in the box. There was one more thing. A piece of paper with a single name. David Brenner, CEO of the investment firm where Daniel worked, the man who testified against him at trial, the man who ruined our family. I sat in that bank vault holding evidence that could destroy powerful people, people who had already destroyed my family once. And then I felt it again. The vibration, Edward's phone. A text from the same unknown number. Leave the bank, go home. You're being watched. I looked up. Through the small window in the vault door, I saw a man in a dark suit standing near the teller counter, pretending to fill out a deposit slip. Watching me. I shoved the folder into my bag, closed the box, and walked out. My heart pounding, my mind racing. Who was watching me? David Brenner's people? The police? Someone else? I got in my car and drove home, checking my rearview mirror every second. A black sedan followed me for 3 blocks, then turned away. I parked in my garage, locked every door, and sat at my kitchen table staring at the folder. Edward had spent years gathering this evidence. He died with the truth. Now it was my turn. But I wasn't a detective. I wasn't young. I was a 68-year-old widow who just buried her husband. What could I possibly do? I opened the folder again and started reading. What I found made my blood run cold. The story began to take shape. 20 years ago, Daniel worked for Brenner Capital, a massive investment firm run by David Brenner. Daniel was young, ambitious, good with numbers. He was on the fast track to partner. Then millions of dollars went missing from a client account. The trail led to Daniel. He was arrested, tried, and convicted. The star witness? David Brenner himself. But Edward's evidence told a different story. The money wasn't stolen by Daniel. It was stolen by Brenner to cover his own losses. Then he framed Daniel to take the fall. The emails proved it. Internal messages between Brenner and his partners discussing how to handle the situation, how to find a suitable scapegoat. Daniel was that scapegoat. And the prison riot? That wasn't random either. Someone paid to have Daniel killed. But he survived, escaped, and went into hiding. Edward knew. He'd hired private investigators, tracked down witnesses, built a case. But he never went public because Brenner had connections everywhere. Police, judges, politicians. He would have killed us all. So Edward waited and planned and died before he could act. Now the evidence was mine, and someone knew I had it. That night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Margaret. A man's voice. Low, calm, dangerous. Who is this? You know who this is. You have something that belongs to me. I want it back. David Brenner. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't play games. The folder, the evidence, Edward's little investigation. I know you found it. My heart pounded. How do you know? I've always known. I've been watching Edward for years, watching you, waiting to see what you'd do. I gripped the phone tighter. What do you want? I want the folder, all of it. Bring it to me and no one gets hurt. Keep it and your son dies, for real this time. The line went dead. I sat there, frozen. He knew about Daniel. He knew about the evidence. He knew everything. And he just threatened to kill my son. I looked at the folder. Years of work. Proof of innocence. Proof of murder. If I gave it to Brenner, Daniel would never be free. The truth would die with Edward. If I didn't, Daniel would die anyway. I needed help. Someone I could trust. There was only one person. My daughter-in-law, Jessica. Jessica married Daniel 6 months before his arrest. She was young, beautiful, devoted. After Daniel went to prison, she visited him every week, wrote him every day, never gave up. When Daniel died, she was devastated. But she never remarried, never moved on. She bought a small house in the next town and lived alone, waiting for a miracle. I hadn't spoken to her in years. Too painful. Too many memories. But now, I needed her. I drove to her house the next morning. She opened the door and stared at me like she'd seen a ghost. Margaret? Jessica, I need to talk to you. It's about Daniel. Her face went pale. Daniel's dead. No, he's not. He's alive and in danger. I told her everything. The funeral, the text, the folder, Brenner's call. She didn't cry, didn't scream. She just listened, her jaw tight, her eyes burning. When I finished, she said, "What do we do?" I don't know, but we can't do it alone. We need proof. We need someone who can go public. Jessica nodded slowly. I know someone, a reporter. She's been investigating Brenner for years. She'll help. Can we trust her? We have to. Her name was Catherine Lee, an investigative journalist who'd been trying to expose Brenner for a decade. She met us in a coffee shop on the edge of town. Neutral ground, she said. I showed her the folder. She spent an hour reading, her eyes getting wider with each page. This is everything, she whispered. Bank records, emails, witness affidavits, photographs. Edward had been busy for years. So you'll help us? She looked at me, her expression serious. Mrs. Langford, if I run this story, Brenner will come after you, after all of us. Are you prepared for that? I thought about Daniel, alive, innocent, hiding for 15 years. I've buried my husband, I've buried my son. There's nothing left to lose. Catherine nodded. Then let's get to work. She explained the plan. She'd write the story, but we needed one more thing. A witness, someone who could confirm the evidence. Someone like David Brenner's former partner, a man named William Hayes. He'd left Brenner Capital years ago under mysterious circumstances. Catherine had tried to reach him, but he was in hiding. I know where he is, Jessica said quietly. We both stared at her. Daniel told me. Before he went to prison, he said if anything ever happened to him, I should find William Hayes, that he'd help. Do you know how to find him? She nodded. I think so. That night, Jessica and I drove to a small town 3 hours away, a place called Millbrook, population 2,000, the kind of place where people go to disappear.
We found William Hayes living in a tiny house at the end of a dirt road. He was old now, frail, nothing like the powerful businessman he had once been. When we showed him the evidence, he cried. "I've waited 20 years for this," he whispered. "I'll testify. I'll tell them everything." The next morning, Catherine published her story. It went viral within hours. Newspapers picked it up, TV stations, social media. David Brenner was finished. Or so we thought, because that afternoon, my phone rang again. Brenner's voice, cold as ice. "You think you've won? You think a story changes anything? I own the police. I own the judges. I own this town." "You own nothing," I said. "The truth is out." He laughed, a horrible, hollow sound. "The truth? I'll show you the truth." The line went dead. 30 minutes later, my door burst open. Men in suits, guns drawn, federal badges. "Marilyn Langford, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud." I didn't resist, didn't fight, just looked at them and said, "Where's my daughter-in-law?" One of them smiled. "She's already in custody." They took me away in handcuffs.
Then the FBI came, arrested me, arrested Jessica. We were in separate cells, unable to speak, unable to fight. And Brenna's voice echoed in my head. I own the police. I own the judges. I was alone, scared, and running out of time. Now let me tell you what happened inside that jail. The cell was cold, gray walls, metal bunk, the smell of bleach and despair. I sat on the edge of the bed, clutching the only thing they'd let me keep, Edward's phone. They'd taken everything else, the folder, the evidence, my freedom. I tried calling Catherine, no answer. I tried calling Daniel's number, disconnected. I was alone. Hours passed, maybe days, I lost track. Then, late that night, a guard appeared at my cell door. "Someone to see you." He led me to a small interview room, gray walls, metal table, 2 chairs. Sitting in one of them was a man I'd never seen before, older, maybe 70, with kind eyes and a tired smile. "Mrs. Langford, please, sit down." I sat. "Who are you?" "My name is Robert Morrison. I'm a lawyer, and I'm here to help you." "A lawyer? I didn't ask for a lawyer." "No, but your son did." I stared at him. "My son is dead." He smiled. "No, Mrs. Langford, your son is very much alive, and he's been watching everything." Robert reached into his briefcase and pulled out a photograph. Daniel. Recent, standing next to a man I didn't recognize. "Where is he? Is he okay?" "He's safe, for now, but he can't come forward. Not yet. The people who want him dead are still out there." "Then why are you here?" "Because Daniel has evidence. Evidence that will not only free you and Jessica, but destroy David Brenner once and for all." "More evidence?" "Edward already gathered everything." Robert shook his head. "Edward gathered what he could find, but Daniel had something Edward never knew about." He slid a small USB drive across the table. "What is it?" "A recording, from the night Daniel was framed. A conversation between Brenner and his partners discussing the plan." My hands shook as I picked it up. "This exists?" "It exists, and I have copies in safe places. But we need to use it carefully. One wrong move and Brenner will destroy it, and us." "What do we do?" Robert leaned forward. "There's a hearing tomorrow. A judge will decide whether to release you. Brenner has people in the courtroom. He'll try to keep you here." "Can you stop him?" "I can try, but I need you to do something. Anything. Tomorrow, when the judge asks if you have anything to say, you tell them the truth. About Edward, about Daniel, about Brenner. Don't hold back." "They'll never believe me." "They will, because I'll be there, and I'll have witnesses." "What witnesses?" He smiled again. "People who've been waiting 20 years to tell the truth." The next morning, they led me into a courtroom, wood-paneled walls, high ceilings, the smell of old books and fear. Jessica sat at another table, her eyes red, her hands shaking. She looked at me and nodded. The judge entered, a woman in her 60s with gray hair and sharp eyes. Judge Patricia Morrison, no relation to Robert, I later learned. The prosecutor stood up, a young man in an expensive suit, oozing confidence. Your Honor, the state has overwhelming evidence against the defendants: conspiracy, fraud, obstruction of justice. We ask that they be held without bail. Judge Morrison looked at me. Mrs. Langford, do you have anything to say? I stood up. My legs were shaking. My voice was barely a whisper. Your Honor, I'm innocent. My husband, Edward, was innocent. My son, Daniel, was innocent. We've been hunted, framed, and destroyed by a man named David Brenner. He stole millions. He framed my son. He tried to have him killed, and now he's trying to silence me. The prosecutor laughed. Your Honor, this is absurd. Mrs. Langford has no evidence. I have evidence. Everyone turned. Robert Morrison stood up, holding a small USB drive. Your Honor, I have here a recording of David Brenner himself discussing the plan to frame Daniel Langford. I also have sworn affidavits from 3 former employees of Brenner Capital, and I have a witness who's been in hiding for 15 years. The prosecutor's face went pale. This is highly irregular, Your Honor. We haven't seen any of this. Because you weren't meant to. That's the point. Judge Morrison held up her hand. Enough. I want to see this recording now. The courtroom clerk took the USB drive and played it on the room's speakers. Brenner's voice filled the room. Get rid of Langford. Make it look like he stole the money. I don't care how. Just do it. Silence. Then chaos. The prosecutor was on his feet, shouting objections. The gallery erupted in murmurs. Jessica was crying. Judge Morrison banged her gavel. Order! Order! In the court! When the room quieted, she looked at me. Her eyes were different now, softer. Mrs. Langford, you're free to go. Both of you. Charges are dropped, pending further investigation. I collapsed into my chair, sobbing. Jessica ran to me and hugged me tight. We were free, but Brenner wasn't finished. As we walked out of the courthouse, a black sedan screeched to a halt in front of us. The window rolled down. Brenner's face, smiling. Congratulations, Margaret, you won a battle, but the war's not over. He drove away, leaving us standing on the steps, shivering in the cold.
Then Brenner showed up, smiling, threatening. The war wasn't over. Now, let me tell you how it ended. For the next week, we didn't sleep. Jessica and I moved from place to place, never staying more than one night. Robert arranged safe houses, changed our phones, kept us hidden. Catherine's story had gone global, but Brenner was still free, still powerful, still hunting us. Then, one night, my phone rang. Daniel's voice. Mom, I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Mom, it's me. I'm coming home. Where are you? I'm close, but I need you to meet me, alone. Daniel, it's not safe. Brenner's people are everywhere. I know. That's why I need to meet you. I have something that will end this. What? A witness. Someone who was there the night they framed me. Who? William Hayes. I froze. But we already talked to William. He testified. That wasn't William, Mom. That was an actor, paid by Brenner to give false testimony and discredit you. My blood ran cold. Then where's the real William? Hiding, waiting. He'll only talk to you, alone. I looked at Jessica. She nodded. Tell me where. An hour later, I stood in an abandoned barn at the edge of town, rain pounding on the roof, wind howling through broken windows. A figure emerged from the shadows. old, frail, terrified. "Mrs. Langford? William?" He nodded. "I'm sorry for everything. I should have come forward years ago." "Why didn't you?" "Because Brenner would have killed me. He killed people, Mrs. Langford, people who talked, people who knew too much." "What changed?" "You did. Your husband did. When I heard about his investigation, when I saw what you were willing to risk, I knew I couldn't hide anymore." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small notebook. "This is everything. Names, dates, amounts, every crime Brenner committed, every person he paid off, every life he destroyed." I took the notebook. It was heavy, heavy with truth. "Why didn't you give this to Edward?" "I was scared. I was a coward. I thought if I stayed quiet, I'd be safe." "Were you?" He shook his head. "No, I was never safe. None of us were." I looked at him, this broken old man carrying the weight of 20 years of guilt. "Come with me. We'll go to the police together." He shook his head. "I can't. They'll kill me." "Then we'll protect you. Robert has safe houses, witness protection. We'll keep you alive." He looked at me, tears in his eyes. "Why would you do that, after what I did?" "Because my husband believed in justice, and so do I." The next morning, Robert Morrison walked into the district attorney's office with William Hayes and his notebook. Within hours, arrest warrants were issued for David Brenner and 6 of his associates. They found Brenner at his mansion packing a suitcase, trying to flee the country. When they put the handcuffs on him, he laughed. "You think this changes anything? I own this town. I'll be out in a week." The detective smiled. "Not this time, Brenner. We have witnesses, we have evidence, and we have a recording of you planning the whole thing." His smile faded. For the first time in 20 years, David Brenner looked afraid. They led him away in handcuffs. I watched from across the street, standing next to Jessica. "It's over," she whispered. I shook my head. "Not yet. There's one more thing." That night, I drove to a small house on the edge of town. Jessica was with me. Neither of us spoke. I knocked on the door. It opened, and there he was, my son, alive, real, standing in front of me. "Mom." I couldn't speak. I just grabbed him and held on, sobbing into his chest. "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry." "Don't you dare apologize. Don't you ever apologize." We stood there for what felt like hours, holding each other, crying, laughing, crying again. Jessica joined us, the 3 of us, together for the first time in 20 years. Later, we sat at his kitchen table, drinking coffee, talking about everything and nothing. "What now?" I asked. Daniel smiled. "Now we live. Really live. No more hiding, no more fear." "And Brenner?" "He'll spend the rest of his life in prison. William's testimony sealed it." I looked at my son. My boy, finally free. "I have something for you," I said. I reached into my bag and pulled out Edward's old watch, the one he'd worn every day, the one I'd kept since his funeral. Daniel took it, tears streaming down his face. "Dad's watch. He'd wanted for you. He never stopped believing in you." Daniel put it on. It fit perfectly. "Thank you, Mom, for everything." I squeezed his hand. "No, Daniel. Thank you for coming home." 1 year later, I sat on my porch watching the sunset. The roses were blooming. Edward's roses. Daniel had planted them for me. He lives nearby now, with Jessica. They got married last spring. A small ceremony, just family. I cried through the whole thing. Brenner was convicted on all counts. He'll die in prison. William Hayes testified at the trial, then he disappeared again. Some people just can't stay. Catherine Lee won a Pulitzer for her investigation. She calls me sometimes just to check in. And me? I'm 69 now. My knees hurt sometimes. My memory is sharp as ever. I sit on this porch every evening, watching the sun go down, holding Edward's letter in my hands. The one he wrote before he died. "Margaret, if you're reading this, you've won.
You've done what I couldn't. You've brought our son home. You've brought the truth to light. I always knew you were stronger than me. I love you. I'll always love you. Wait for me." I fold the letter and put it back in my pocket. Daniel's car pulls into the driveway. Jessica waves from the passenger seat. "Grandma, we brought pie." I smile. Life is good. Here's what I learned, folks. The truth doesn't die. It waits, it hides, it gathers strength, and when the time is right, it rises. You can bury it, burn it, deny it, but you can't kill it. And neither could David Brenner. Neither could anyone. Because truth isn't just facts. It's love. It's memory. It's the promise we make to the people we've lost. And that promise lasts forever. If this story touched you, drop a comment below. Tell me where you're watching from. Share it with someone who needs to hear that truth always wins. Subscribe for more stories. And remember, no matter how dark it gets, the sun always rises. Take care of yourselves.